Hey guys, welcome back to GRAZYTV. In today's story, we're going to be talking about some crazy, creepy things that has happened on taxis. Especially in Korea, taxis are supposed to be one of the safest transportations. I've rode taxis many times in Korea, generally and always safe compared to some other countries that I've been to. It's usually clean, but in these cases we're going to be talking about today, sometimes you do have to protect yourself, or even if you're the driver, you have to protect yourself. First case is going to be about an incident that happened not too long ago where a man farted in a taxi and he almost ended up getting badly injured and almost killed. I know, the headlines may be funny, but this story is actually very creepy and crazy. The second story is going to be about a case that happened a very long time ago in 2003, 17 years ago, but it's still unsolved. So we're going to be diving into some of the evidences today. Before we get started, I know I'm loving my outfit. This is a one shoulder crop top and my new butterfly necklace. Like always, sponsors help out GRAZYTV channel so much because I am doing these crazy stories. So today's sponsor is by Skinny Mint. You guys see me talk about Skinny Mint so many times and I use this daily in my life, and recently I went on a trip and I've been eating good and I've been eating out really high calorie foods. So I'm finally back. I need to detox and let my body rest. My personal favorite before I exercise is taking the Slim Trim and Shake and the Green Cleansing Elixir together, shake it and make it into my protein shake. Every single morning I do this. It just gives me a boost of energy. Sometimes if I do want to cleanse my body, this is what I drink for lunch, and then for dinner I eat whatever I want. So it's a really easy diet plan for me and that works. And another one of my favorite products is the super fat burning gummies. So instead of having chips and candies and things like that, it really helps to curb your cravings and gives you a little bit of power and energy throughout the day. The gummies are sugar free and vegan. Remember to click the link in my discount down below so you guys get some discount on these products. And thank you to Skinny Mint for sponsoring today's video. So let's get into the first case. We're going to be talking about the man who farted in a taxi then almost got killed. Yes, the headlines are funny and the victims are actually very hurt by this because press was actually focusing on the word fart, and actually a lot of netizens were making fun of these victims and saying you deserved it. I mean, there was a lot of nasty comments around this because their life was in extreme danger. So this incident happened not too long ago in Busan area of Korea. It's all the way on the edge on the other side of Seoul. Three people were out drinking one night. It was one female, her boyfriend, and another male friend. After drinking, the male friend went home first and the couples decided to get a taxi to go back home. There's a lot of taxi drivers who are very friendly, but I've also met taxi drivers who were not so friendly, and I don't know, there's something about taxi drivers that sometimes just have this like anger problem. So anyway, the two couple got in. They were just chatting, having fun, and all of a sudden the boyfriend, yes, let out a slight fart. They said after that the taxi driver rolled down all four windows without saying anything. The couple said, "I'm sorry." Then the couple asked to roll up the windows when they thought that the smell or it was ventilating really nicely. Then that's when the taxi driver started to curse at them, get very loud, and started fighting about this whole farting situation. The couple told the taxi driver, "I told you I'm sorry. I mean, what's the big deal? Why are you yelling?" And it just started going back and forth. To mind you, this all happened within less than 5 minutes. The couple then decided to get off the taxi because they didn't feel safe with the driver, and the driver stopped by at a nearby side road and the couple even paid for that short taxi ride. The female then got out of the car and I guess she was a little agitated, so she took a picture of the license plate, and you could actually report any aggressive drivers, any drivers who are unprofessional, to the taxi company. Within that split second, that is when the driver wore some gloves, took out a knife from his passenger seat and started to attack the boyfriend. Now this knife was a long sashimi knife that is used for fish cutting, and you guys know those are not normal knives. These are very dangerous if used in the wrong way. The driver started to attack the boyfriend multiple times and the boyfriend started to bleed really heavily. The really creepy part is they say that the taxi driver did not flee the scene at all. He was just heavily breathing and looking over the situation. He didn't say anything. He just stood there staring at the victims. Now fortunately and for odd reasons, the taxi driver did not flee and he was caught by the police at the scene. Now unfortunately for the victim, he was carried out, and yes, he did survive, but he had 9-hour surgery to try and save him. They said that there was about 8 to 12 wounds in the victim, and the injuries were so bad that one of his lungs punctured and he cannot breathe on his own. And also in one of his arms, a major nerve was punctured, so he actually might not be able to use his arm ever again. So how can this one fun night out and getting a taxi just like anyone else does end up in a long life-threatening situation. I mean, the male victim was only 27 years old Korean age, so technically he's 26 years old universal age. He just got a job and he was just starting his life. So who is this crazy suspect? Now the suspect, the taxi driver, is a man in his 50s, and they said he hasn't been working in the taxi industry for long. It's only been about a month for him, and before this he was working at a construction site, but he had a hard time working or with money, and he had to just work as a taxi driver. They said that he also had no other friends, no one knew him because he was so new, and I think he was a very quiet guy. And also when people took a look at the driver's face, of course it's blurred for the public, people describe him as very normal looking. Like, it doesn't look like he's about to lash out. He also did not have any previous crime convictions, so how can someone that did not have any criminal records at all of a sudden decide to almost kill or injure a person that badly? Now, according to the investigations, the taxi driver said that he goes fishing often, and that's one of the reasons why he had the knife in his car. The only thing the taxi driver said was that he was just so angry at the moment that he could not control it. Now, according to professionals, there might be a reason why this man just lashed out so bizarrely. Now, he might be dealing with some kind of anger management control and things like that, but other than that, personality reasons. The reason why he had a dangerous knife right next to his driver's seat wasn't because he loved fishing. It was because he already had a very deep down look upon the customers. It was some form of mental self-defense that he was already preparing for prior to this incident. The farting itself can't be the sole reason, and professionals say it is one of the triggering of his anger problem. He most likely thought of his taxi car as a personal space, and for someone to invade his personal space, it offended him very strongly, way more than, it would for a normal person. They say that the taxi industry is really awful when it comes to making a revenue. They say you have to work at least 18 hours straight to make a decent income for the day. For taxi drivers, you must give a percentage. I think they said about $100 to $150 a day to the taxi company, and anything you make after that is what you make. A lot of people don't even make $150 a day. But let's say you're making only $180 a day in your good days. You are left with only $30 to take home. If you don't even make that percentage you must give your taxi company, you're going home with zero money. Yet they're sitting there in their car working 18 hours a day without any rest. Not saying that this is an excuse for the taxi driver. What he did is absolutely unexcusable, but the taxi industry is not that great. One of the hardest part for the victims isn't just the fact that their life was changed around by this incident, but it was the fact that they were made fun of by the whole internet of Korea based on the headlines. And when I heard about this story, one of the sad thing that I felt was that in Korea, I do know that the mental institute and the mental health community is not a big thing. So when people are dealing with personal problems, it could be anger management, it could be personality disorders, anything with the mental things, it's really hard to seek help because it's not a wide range known thing to do. So I want to know what you guys have thought about this particular case. What do you think was going on in this taxi driver's mind? Anything other than anger problems? Let's go into the second case, which is the unsolved Yeongju taxi incident. So taxi is something, like I said, everybody rides, and unlike the first case, taxi drivers could also be in harm. Now this case is unique because we do have a picture of the suspect right here. It's a really creepy photo, I know. We really don't know who this person is because, like you see, the CCTV footage picture is really grainy, and we were able to enhance it in 2020 version, but still, this case happened in the night of May 22nd to the midnight of 23rd. Mr. Kim was a hard-working taxi driver, and he was a father of 3 kids, and he really needed to work overtime in order to make enough financial income for his family. They said that he had absolutely no bad karma, he had no problems with any other friends or acquaintances, he was just a hard-working person. On the night of May 22nd, he received a call from a passenger to pick him up. The call was from an unknown number that was later traced back to a payphone, so police can't even find the suspect through the phone trace because they did not use a cell phone. The man actually never ended up showing up to the hotel, so the taxi guy waited, and an hour later the same man called him to another location, but this location was not at the hotel. It's a very dark location where there was no lights. Now this particular man wanted to go to an area called Sangju, which is a more rural area where there's only farms and no one comes there except if you live there or if you know someone there, and it's around 40 miles from the initial location, the Yeongju area. Before they headed off, they went to a gas station and they filled up the tank because the taxi driver knew it was going to be a long ride. At around 1 a.m., that is when Mr. Kim called 119 to get some help. Police say no one spoke from the phone, and 119 called him back and no one picked up, and they believe this is when Mr. Kim passed away. It seems as if the passenger purposely planned an attack on the driver, and there's evidence of the attacker actually getting out of the car and chasing Mr. Kim about 100 yards or 100 meters once they got out. It doesn't seem like they were trying to just rob the taxi driver. He purposely drove to a really rural area and even chased him to end his life. In the morning of May 23rd, 2003, a farmer woke up to a man who was fallen in a dark pit, and of course this was Mr. Kim. The odd thing was that the taxi car was never found in that location. So the suspect actually drove the taxi car 55 miles away to another location in Andong-si city area. The only thing that was missing from Mr. Kim's taxi car was $100, which police believe that was all his revenue that was made from that day, which is very low amount of money for the police to believe that this was just a taxi robbery. No other fingerprints were found, and there was evidence of the car being wiped clean, so unfortunately no DNA, no fingerprints were ever found. Investigators believe that the suspect drove to this area purposely in order to take the nearest public transportation to disappear from the scene clearly. Police believe that the suspect had to come to the Andong-si area at around 2:09 a.m. and he just had enough time to take the last train. The only mistake that the suspect made was the CCTV footage from the highway. Now obviously this was 2003, the images are not going to be as clear, and the car was running fast, so this is the only clue that we have about the suspect. From the picture, experts believe that the man had to be around 165 to 170 centimeters. He wore a white shirt and a possible hat and glasses. Now the hat could be covered by like the headboard thing on the car, so they're not sure. Another really creepy thing about this image is about someone that possibly could be behind the seat. Now investigators cannot confirm that there's someone behind it, but they are very curious about what this little tiny image could be behind the man. Police did not even consider there was two people in the car until investigators had this photo in his smartphone, and the smartphone registered that there was two people in this image. Even on my iPhone, it's able to track how many people are in the photos based on like the facial structures and things like that. So the fact that the phone picked up that there's two people in the car, that's super creepy. But of course this could be just a noise, like a picture noise behind, and the phone picked it up wrong. Another possible clue is when another taxi driver claims he believed he had the suspect in the picture as a previous customer. He remembers one man in Yeongju area asking for a ride late at night around 1 a.m. again. He was purposely riding in dark areas where there was no street lights, and he asked to stop at a convenience store, then asked the driver to take him back to where he came from, again to that same location, the dark area with no street light. The man got out and just stood there for a while. It's like he had nothing better to do but just stand in a creepy street. Another man who was a possible suspect was Mr. Han. And yes, the silhouette is similar, but this picture is a bit grainy to kind of convict anyone. And there's gonna be a lot of people that look like this. Like anyone that has glasses, who might be in their 40s or 50s, it looks like. I mean, it's really hard to tell. The main question is, why did this suspect do this to Mr. Kim? Like his family said, that there was no one that wanted his money. It's not like they were rich. It's not like anyone was after him. He had a very clean friends and acquaintances. And if the suspect took the train to go somewhere to ride back to his home area, I mean, he had to spend money on the train, maybe on other things, and he would be left with like not a lot of money. So the fact that he was just trying to rob people, police believe that this was not a robbery. The last question that people had was the suspect was wearing a seatbelt. Yes, right now the seatbelts law is a very strict thing, but back in 2003, seatbelt laws was not as strict as now. And also people say back in 2000s that people didn't even wear seatbelts that often. So the fact that this man is wearing a seatbelt after a gruesome attack, and seatbelts are generally giving you a safe feeling, so suspects who are having this adrenaline rush will usually not wear seatbelts because they're in a hurry, so they could come in and get out whenever they can. Could it be that the suspect was so used to these acts, he was so comfortable? And Korea is very tight and city-like, so it's not like everyone has cars. Here is also a montage or the possible suspect a professional drew based on the CCTV footage. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you to Skinny Mint for sponsoring today's video. Remember to hit the like button, and I respond to all my early birds, so hit that notification button and subscribe. Have a magical day.